Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sethatina Live, although this has been recorded. I've received many comments from my fellow followers, as well as those who maybe don't follow me, but have found my content interesting enough to make comments. So thank you very much. I appreciate all the commentary, whether it's pro, con, not quite sure what to think. Either way, I appreciate the comments. So thank you very much. Today's content is going to be about President Trump's most recent executive order, and that is giving full power to the Secretary of the Treasury, which is Scott Bennett. I forgot his name. I know the first name is Scott, but Scott Bennett is pretty much going to have total control over the Treasury. So with his executive order, the executive order is to make the Secretary of the Treasury through the Treasury Department greater power, to give them greater power and control to ensure all transactions are properly recorded and from all agencies. This executive order will also change all transactions from paper and pen to electronic only. So I have a couple things to say about that. When I looked up the Secretary of the Treasury, he seems to have good credentials. You know, he worked for a number of firms for managing finances. He made the first company over $1 billion through his financial awareness and trades. So, you know, economically and financially, I think, you know, he might be good. My concern is that he's one of President Trump's good old boys. And I always have had issues with the good old boy mentality of government, whether it be police officers, whether it be the local company in the town. Sure, you can get a lot of things done using the good old boy network, but I still question the good old boy network because who's benefiting from it? The people in the club or the people who are supporting the government and organization? So there's one of my many concerns. As far as on the surface, this all sounds great. You know, give the Secretary of the Treasury more control, making sure that all transactions are being accounted for, making sure that all the money that is being allocated to organizations are being spent appropriately. That sounds a lot like something that I talked about in my campaign. Nonetheless, it sounds like a good idea. Put everything on computers, make everything electronic, you know? Great, everything will be in one location. Okay, that in itself makes me worry, because if all transactions are monitored by one man, a man who is loyal to President Trump, where is all the money actually going to go? Is he going to funnel it? I hope not. You know, I don't want to say anything derogatory about the man. I don't know him. But again, the good old boy network doesn't always look out for the little people. They look out for their buddies. Okay. Again, I don't know the man personally, so I can't say that that's what he will do. I'm hoping he's honest. Let's talk about all transactions now completed that are now completed on paper will go onto computers. Will go into technology. Will be stored electronically, will be paid out electronically. Oh, yeah. And probably hacked electronically. Has the government not realize how easy it is to hack into any computer? You know, how many medical systems have been hacked into? Social Security has been hacked into. Banks have been hacked into. Uh, Government computers have been hacked into. Okay. It is absolutely insane that President Trump thinks it's okay and thinks it's the best idea ever that all our finances, all Treasury transactions are done electronically. No backup. I didn't read anything about a backup plan. So having everything be put onto the computers, I'm sorry, that is just a little bit too insane for me. Now, I will say, my husband, huge fan of doing all our finances on the computer. He has his little spreadsheet. He takes everything from, he gets the statements from the bank, transfers them to his spreadsheet. He does all of that. Me, I'm old fashioned. I like paper and pen. See, I still write down paper and pen. It helps me get my thoughts together. Yeah, there's a few squiggles here, but it helps me get my thoughts together. I don't type as fast as my brain works. I can write better. So, with putting everything on being electronic, putting everything on the computers, everything in the cloud, we are at such a risk for not only foreign hackers, but domestic as well. Unfortunately, we can't just say, oh, well, China and North Korea are trying to get into our computer system and trying to get into our electrical grid and trying to hack into our finances. Guess what? It's not just foreign. Okay. We have domestic hackers too. We have domestic terrorists. Shoot, we have government agencies trying to prove that they can hack into a system to show its vulnerabilities. Really? So why, knowing that, I'm just an average peon right here, but even I know that putting everything on computers in the cloud is not safe. So one of the things that I would suggest is, number one, not having all the powers go to the Department of Treasury, to only the two people, the Secretary of Treasury and the Deputy Secretary of Treasury. Other people need to be involved. Have an outside accounting firm verify the calculations. Computers are great for doing calculations. They think a lot faster than most people, minus some of the savants that are out there. But guess what? It's human beings that are entering the information into the computer. We are fallible. We can make mistakes. We do make mistakes. Even though I'm not dyslexic or calculetic, I still switch numbers sometimes. Not on purpose, just accidentally. And I'm like, what is this? Oh yeah, okay, now I see it. We make mistakes. The information being put into the computer is being done by humans. We make mistakes. We can't have just two people looking over everything and deciding, oh yeah, that looks great. Why not get an accounting firm, an outside accounting firm? President Trump and Mr. Musk are always talking about privatizing everything. Well, get a small, and I do say a small accounting firm to come in and make sure that things are being entered correctly. By getting a small firm, they have something to prove. If they mess up, they're not going to have much business afterward. If you get one of these big firms, again, good old boy network, don't want that. Big firms also have thousands of other accounts that they are also worrying about and putting time into. You need to get a smaller accounting firm. They're the ones who are going to put more effort. They're going to put more manpower into ensuring that the information entered, the information exiting, the information calculated is all accurate. And it's not going to be one or two people that are doing it. You know, keeping both paper and electronic reports. That way, entrants can double check, and information entered can be double checked. If I say that it's $10,000 that has gone in, but I forget to type in a zero, there's paperwork. There's literal paper that has the amount on it in pen, non-erasable, so you can go back and check it. If you just account for what has been entered by a person and then the paper is shredded, you have no way to go back and make sure that the money that was supposed to be there is actually there. You know, that's actually a great way for people to hide money, to launder money, to move money where, it's not supposed to go. Oh, who cares if I take off a zero here? Who cares if I take off a zero there? Nobody's going to know. The paper's gone. Everything's electronic now. That's why one of the reasons it's so dangerous for everything to be electronic, because there's no check and balances. Who's to say that what we put into the computer is true or not? The paper that has been filed so that it can be checked again if something doesn't add up right. That's how it should be done. Now, do I think we have too much paper? Oh, yeah. Okay. Trees need to be saved. Yes, absolutely. But if we recycle old stuff, shred it, make new paper, then we're recycling. Why not do that? Do we need to have papers from, 100 years ago? Kind of doubt it. Do we need to have papers from 50 years ago? Financially, probably. Okay. A lot of things happen in 50 years. There are some files that we still need to have. But when it comes to everything that we have, I'm sure there are some things that can be recycled. Not important things, obviously, but there are things that can be recycled. And keeping a digital copy isn't the same as keeping a paper copy. My husband's also really good about scanning things. And then as long as it's on the computer, he's fine with it. We just get rid of the paper. I'm not that way, because even if it's on the computer, scanned, and on a virtual computer where, in case my computer crashes, who's to say that the virtual computer is not going to crash? Who's going to say that, who can say that we won't get everything knocked out, that I won't have an electrical outage for the next, month, but yet I still have paperwork, I still have finances to do, I still need to be able to access my information. I have all my notes. I have paper copies of transactions. I have my receipts. I have those things that haven't been scanned in, but I have the actual paperwork for it. Is my desk a little cluttered? Yes, but I have everything that I need. So I think having both paper and electronic are beneficial. So I wanted to talk about what the duties of the treasurer are. Okay, I kind of skipped over that a little bit. I did not mean to. Got excited about talking about what was going on. So the Treasury Department includes the office of the Secretary and departmental offices. This is where all of the policy-making offices are found. Each office has an assistant secretary directly responsible for its activities. In addition, there are many bureaus with different responsibilities. So that is the Treasury Department, okay? People who are in charge. What does the Secretary of the Treasury do? The Secretary of the Treasury is responsible for formulating and recommending domestic and international financial, economic, and tax policy, participating in the formation of broad fiscal policies that have general significance for the economy and managing the public debt. Okay, that has not worked out real well. The Secretary oversees the activities of the Treasury Department in carrying out her major law enforcement responsibilities and serving as the financial agent for the U.S. government and in manufacturing poison currency. Okay. The Chief Financial Officer of the government, the Secretary of the Treasury, serves on the President's National Economic Council. They also is also the chairman of the board and managing trustee of the Social Security and Medicare Trust Funds, chairman of the Thrift Depositor Protection Oversight Board, and serves as the U.S. Governor of the International Monetary Fund, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the African Development Bank, and the Euro Bank for Reconstruction and Development. That's everything that the Secretary of the Treasury does. That's a lot that one person has to do. So is this one person? Now, there's also the Deputy Secretary who assists the Secretary. But that's a lot of information. And those are a lot of boards that they're on, a lot of financial responsibilities for one person. Now, I'm hoping, I don't know how many people the Secretary of the Treasury has under them, but I hope it's more than just the Deputy Secretary. And with the number of firings that President Trump and Elon Musk have been doing since President Trump came into office, I'm not sure if the Secretary of the Treasury is going to have very many people there to help them, which is scary in itself. You know, I worry that so many duties for one person, things are going to slip through the cracks. And as I was saying, putting in information into the computer all the time instead of a ledger, you know, if I have a check that says $10,000, I'm going to write all 4 zeros. But if I'm typing and I'm looking and I'm just typing, I might forget a 0, or I might hit a 2 instead of a 0. That's going to change numbers. But writing it down, you can double check. Hopefully they're double checking as they're entering into the computer. But I'm terrified that things are going to go by the wayside. Things aren't going to be double checked. That's why I'm recommending that there be an outside accountant, an outside accounting firm there to make sure that basically I's are dotted and T's are crossed. We need to make sure that that's going on because it hasn't been happening in the past. That's why so many people agree with Doge, agree with Elon Musk about, finding all this fraudulent money. Is it really fraudulent, or are we just making, coming up with trillions of dollars because other people are being fired without really thinking about what those people do at their job? So the last thing I want to talk about with regards to the executive order is the hackers. Okay. I know most of the federal government's accounting and treasury information is already on computers. We've talked about that. We've talked about that it's in the cloud. Even though Trump says it should have been done, President Trump says it should have been done 20, 25 years ago. They've been doing that. They've been working towards that. But nonetheless, having some paper to back everything up is beneficial. So with the paper copies, if information is compromised or deleted, it's not gone completely. Should we be worried that so much power is in place? The people, governments, I will say governments, who are trying to prove that the United States is not protected as much as they think they are, will find the best hackers out there to prove to us that we're vulnerable, that our information can be obtained, that we don't have enough securities in our computer structures. Look at the report that just came out about, talking on a encrypted platform, and yet somehow or another a reporter got information that they weren't supposed to. Now, did that really happen? I don't know. I don't always trust everything that I see anymore, because reporters can be out to get the president. They might have slipped that information to see what will come from it. We've known that has happened before. Let's slip this out and see who gets the information. The perfect example is during World War II, when to find out if the Japanese knew the American codes, they talked about the water system being broken. Well, they found out that the Japanese knew our code because they heard it. They were able to hear what was being said, and they heard about the water system being broken. Government has been doing it forever. So how much of what we hear in the news is truly accurate? How much of what we hear, even from President Trump, Elon Musk, the other cabinet members, how much of it is real or just what they want us to know? But it's not everything. We'll say A, B, and C so that we can look transparent, but we're not going to tell them about X, Y, and Z or anything in between. No. They don't need to know that. Sure, there are some things that we, the American people, don't need to know. I think. I haven't been in politics. I haven't been in the government to find out that there are those situations. But what I can say is, should we be worried that so much power is placed into the hands of one person? What do I mean, one person? Wait a minute. 3 people. President Trump as the lawmaker, judiciary system. President Trump doesn't need them. Elon Musk is the enforcer. Hey, if you're spending too much money, you're out of here. I don't care if I wasn't elected by the people. I don't care if I was only put in by President Trump and not chosen by Congress. I don't care that President Trump is the one who created Doge. I'm the enforcer. What I say, if I don't like how you're working, you're out of here. And now we have Scott Pezet. That's his name. I knew I wrote it down. And then we have Scott Pezet as the banker. Anybody ever watch the movie or the series where you pick out a case and you're looking for the $100,000? Well, apparently now Scott Pezet is the banker because he's overseeing the entire federal government's treasury. So I guess the rest of the government doesn't really matter under this administration. Even the cabinet members that President Trump has asked and presented to Congress, we want the Secretary of the Education. Oh, but wait, we're going to disband the Department of Education. We want Secretary of the Interior. Oh, but wait, they're spending too much money on parks and stuff, so we're going to get rid of those people too. We need so every secretary that he's put in, Elon Musk is just firing everybody that would be under them. So we have three that are now in charge of our government, right? And President Trump, as I said last week, he's not letting Congress do their job because he's just signing executive orders. I know every president has that right. Every president does it. I have been called out by a number of people. Well, Biden signed, this many executive orders. As I've stated before, I wasn't paying attention then. I am now. And the reason I'm paying attention now is because I saw what happened under President Biden. And I saw what was potentially going to happen under President Trump. So I was paying attention, and I'm still paying attention because I am going to make sure I am informed, and I'm going to do my best to make sure you are informed. So, three people controlling our government. And is it for the American people? I don't think so. What I want to talk about real quick is our allies. There are now numerous countries who are allies to the United States that are warning their citizens to not travel to the United States. Can you blame them? I mean, how many reports have we had that people with passports coming into the United States are being detained by security, by ICE, being told, no, your passport's not valid, even though it is, because you're not an American citizen. You're from another country. And so therefore, we have to make sure that you're okay. All right. But so now all of the other countries who are our allies are saying, don't go there. Ireland was the most recent. You said, no, we recommend that you don't go. So what's that doing to our economy? There are towns in this country that depend on tourism, not just Americans going to visit, but members of other countries coming to visit. We have some beautiful things, beautiful areas of this country. Grand Canyon, Yosemite Park, Yellowstone, the sequoias, our beaches, Florida. We have some pretty stuff in this country. And now Other countries are saying, no, don't go there. Don't go there. So we also have colleges that depend on students coming from other countries. Their country is paying for the students' tuition. Colleges need that income from those students. Do we want to see more colleges closed down because they can't afford to stay open, can't afford to hire teachers because other countries are saying, sorry, you're not getting a student visa because you're not going to be able to stay there anyway. Thank you, President Trump. Because of President Trump's deportation of what I am terming non-white citizens, non-white people, other countries are concerned for their citizen safety, and I honestly don't blame them. At this point, seeing what President Trump has done, seeing what he has allowed to happen to even native-born citizens of this country that aren't white, from my perspective, I would be terrified for my citizens to leave my country as well and come to the United States. So I love America. I love the United States. I do not like what President Trump is doing to it. I do not like what President Trump is doing to the future of our country. His processes are really what I am considering damaging to our country, our economy, and our livelihood. Whether you agree with me or not, I appreciate your comments. So feel free to do so. And I will do my best to be respectful and upon my reply. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.